Okay, hello and welcome to the Life Breath Club's weekly meeting for May 12th, 2014. Okay, so this is Carrie Tucker, the Life Breath Coach from HeartFailureSolutions.com. Welcome to the call today. Um, just to give y'all fair warning, the folks on the phone, I am not so sure that my battery will hold out. So just so you're aware, I'm not sure I'll be able to keep the phone lines open if the battery dies on me, but we'll see how it goes. And we are live streaming into the membership area with our Google Hangout. And we are ready for an hour of focused attention to our breathing. And today we want to discuss what denial looks like. Can you live with a chronic infection and be unaware of it? And how do you overcome denial and chronic infection, and why would you want to do that? Okay, so let's see here. I've got a chat coming in from somebody trying to get on the call, I believe. Yeah, let me just send it out in the Google or in the Facebook group, and the messages went out late. They didn't go out. Sorry about that, guys. I had it loaded and thought it went, and it didn't go. So I sent it out not very long ago, and sometimes my mail service provider doesn't get it done right away. I suppose other folks have mail lined up.
Can I add one thing? The thing that was different for me to try to get onto your call today was that the conference call place said I had to press star, which was different from all the other times. So that might be what's going on with whoever can't get on the call.
Gotcha. So that we're in the live stream, so perhaps they can access that information there. Jessie is saying that she had to push star, which was unusual to her normal process of getting on the call. So hopefully anybody trying to make it on the line will make it here to the phone line with us. So otherwise, we're creating a recording in our Google Hangout there that will be available in the members area. It's been a long time since I used the coding to lock those things up. You're supposed to have to log in to gain access, and that gives us a little extra privacy. You can't really navigate your way to those calls unless you log in, although you have a link in your email that sends you to the category, so I suppose you could find your way there that way. So if you're ever wanting to access calls, go back to your email reminders and click on the link to the archived recordings. And there are many of them that live over there, readily available for you. There were two really awesome calls that did not make it into Hangout, and it's on the list of things to get done, and definitely need to make that happen this week, to share those two really awesome calls on oxygen therapy and why you'd want to trouble yourself with it, and testimonies around folks who have utilized that to really overcome some major health challenges. And Chris Downs, our awesome VIP Life Breath Club member who got off the heart transplant list, they won't give him his oxygen therapy generator, his concentrator anymore, because his numbers are too good. He's too healthy. So there are ways to bring that into your home without the cooperation of your insurance company. I believe that the redirect link I have over to Mike White's oxygen generator and concentrator source is heartfailuresolutions.com/home oxygen. I believe you should be able to find it over there on the Heart Failure Solutions blog, or hit reply to any message, and please do ask for resources when you can't find your way to those resources. I promise you live over there. My story about my rough week and my healing journey, really that inspired our focused discussion today, has a lot to do with follow through and finding the information that you need, and acknowledging your symptoms and not ignoring your symptoms. And I can share with you that denial was key, and really what's brought the Life Breath Coach to a place of really a health crisis. You know, I could easily ignore this health crisis and decide that not dealing with it is less painful than dealing with it. I think that's what really drove me to take the action or the inaction I did take for 9 years around this problematic right ear of mine. I said it wasn't bothering me. Yeah, that was my own personal denial. Denial for me looked like my ear was irritated, would occasionally have stabbing pain there, itched a lot here and there, sometimes not at all. Sometimes I really wouldn't notice it. As I began to really address it, and I've been doing a hydrogen peroxide vinegar flush every day in there, and really debriding this mushy tissue that's accumulated because I let this wet ear go unchecked after a really serious illness 9 years ago, which did put me in the hospital. Had a very large abscess in my neck. At the time, the doctors said, well, what's the source? You don't just have a large abscess appear without some source of infection. And they did question it at the time. They didn't want to mess with my ear, which I pointed out that I still had a tube in that ear, and that likely could be the source of infection. They didn't want to mess with it because they were concerned that doing any more care for me or any more invasive care therapy for me would endanger my airway, since the large abscess was a concern for maintaining my breathing airway there. So they didn't deal with it. And then after that time, when I really began to heal and they could pay a little bit more attention to what else might be going on, they couldn't see it anymore. And, coming through a really rough illness and nursing a baby every 4 hours, I knew very well that tube didn't fall out. The other tube had fallen out for me years previous, and that ear is in very good shape. Has some scar tissue where the tube is a plastic tube they put in the membrane of your ear to facilitate drainage. They do it for children and adults alike, I gather. Though these days they're much more careful to remove it after 2 years. They don't leave that foreign body in your ear membrane, right, for a prolonged period of time without taking it out and cleaning out any debris that might be collecting behind within the inner ear there, behind the tube and behind the ear membrane that you're not seeing, and make sure that they don't allow for any accumulation of chronic infection, since they know that these ear tubes designed to equalize pressure and allow drainage within your ears so that you don't get infections and you improve your hearing is the reason they do this sort of therapy. I can't say that was really my reaction to the therapy, and really I just never had anybody that interested in taking that tube out for me. And then once I was interested in getting it taken out, really have had trouble getting a referral, right, and playing insurance game as opposed to the healthcare game. And here in the Life Breath Club, we really come to terms with the fact that a lot of times your health journey involves navigating insurance provision. Right? Unless you've got the money in the bank to pay for whatever you want done in terms of healthcare provision, then you've got to play that game. And Anita, our awesome participant and Life Breath Club member, Anita is really great about sharing what's going on and the challenges she faces and the obstacles she gets through and over, with educating herself, with being consistent about complaining and asking for follow-up and whatever else it took, right? Anita really had quite a journey there to find her way to really invasive non-invasive therapy there with chiropractic care and nutrition supplementation that prevented exploratory surgery and possible stents, which was what they recommended in the emergency room. Anita just had some really large dose nutritional supplementation that quickly remedied all concern that would have sent her to the emergency room anytime soon, and really was the reason they wanted to take her into surgery and explore the possibility of placing stents, which Anita found in her research that that correlates with my research, that stents are really not a good idea, not something you want to jump to. And unless you're really experiencing life-threatening symptoms, nothing you even want to consider. And Anita was saying, no, this isn't painful. This is just uncomfortable, and it concerns me. And, really went against advice and said, no, I don't think I'm going to submit myself to an exploratory, even sliding a scope into my heart. Anita really discovered and really felt in her gut was traumatic and harmful and could cause trouble. And she wanted to follow through with the appointment that she had made with a chiropractic clinic nearby that she really felt good about and had read good things about. And she wanted to see what he had to say before she submitted to this invasive procedure. And was very glad she did, since he recommended these two high-dose supplements. And within 24 hours, she had no pain. So, just as well, this uncomfortable feeling that I've been dealing with in my head for 9 years. Yeah, my ear's uncomfortable, but it doesn't wake me, it hasn't woke me up at night. It hasn't, just nagged at me to the point that I was fearful enough to go to an emergency room, or even really complain very loudly when I was in the doctor's office for a routine, physical or whatever other purpose I might be there for. Really just didn't urge me to motivate me to really follow through and really see what I might get done to treat this. Doctors would see that it was white and fuzzy. They'd take a culture, came back negative. They didn't see any reason to pursue any further care either. So it continued on. Denial. If it doesn't get your attention and you ignore it, you could call that denial, right? Sometimes we do have irritating issues that do get our attention, and yet, even when we're faced with it, we deny it, right? Maybe because we're too busy to make the time to address it, or when we do make the time to address it, we don't get a readily available solution. So we kind of let it fall off the to-do list and we don't follow through. I mean, this denial doesn't, slap you in the face, or it's not something you have to be belligerent about, right? Denial is just get some little task sliding off the to-do list. It's that simple, right? So ignoring your symptoms is what creates chronic issues, right? Chronic issues. In the Google Hangout, I have a candle in a hand. I really want to encourage us to light a candle for each other. Right? Because denial is an invasive thing that I often equate it to a beautiful weed. Here locally, we have something called tibicina. It's a beautiful purple flower, and tourists stop and take pictures of it along the side of the highway, and we sometimes laugh at them and say, you're taking pictures of a frustrating weed that we really, have trouble fighting. Boy, these things can grow as tall as your house and then fall over and grow up again. And boy, this invasive weed is problematic, but beautiful. So I often think of denial like that. It's taken over your yard, but it has pretty purple flowers. It's really not annoying until, you can't get out your door. You got nowhere to sunbathe, it sneaks up on you, right? So this ear of mine, after I got out of the hospital and, nurtured my poor bowel back to health because of the antibiotic therapy that they did to address the abscess in my neck, and they lanced it and they drained it and all that good stuff and resolved this abscess in my neck. It's just a scar now, doesn't bother me at all, no problems. And the bowel troubles that occurred because of the antibiotic therapy, really killing off my good, healthy gut flora. I really had to attend to that in order to nurture that healthy digestion, and food is my medicine, and to rebuild and regenerate my health, my strength. And I guess that distracted me, right? Distraction creates this place where we live in denial. Right? So, perhaps you're just really busy. Perhaps you're working overtime to pay off debt. Whatever it looks like for you. That distraction creates this denial place where we maybe notice the symptoms of our dis-ease, but we don't have time to deal with it, right? And when it becomes more nagging, more uncomfortable, we'll deal with it. And until then, we don't. So denial looks like too busy to deal with it, right? So chronic issues are much more difficult to resolve than our acute issues, right? New issues. So a new symptom presenting itself one that you might ignore because it's not that bad. Remember, let that that tap on the shoulder, the Life Breath Club third mind energy that we're creating here each week by focusing on our health and our wellness and our breathing into now, into the still present moment, right? Let that be a reminder that, hey, what is that little nagging thing there that I could just as well ignore? Because maybe if I attend to it now, perhaps it can be easily remedied and it won't turn into a chronic festering issue, right? So if I had paid attention to my ear when I was aggressively making dental appointments, right, to do debriding of gum tissue and really address gum health, right, really be responsible in caring for my dental health, right, and really discussing that, yeah, my doctor says my ear's white and fuzzy, but it's not culturing anything, and I'm not really sure what to do about that, and so as opposed to giving all my time to these intensive dental therapies, perhaps I should have been pursuing designating more time and effort to attending to this ear issue. That certainly, white and fuzzy can't be good. So sometimes it's just simply, putting your focus somewhere down the list of priorities, right? So often we'll hear, oh, my back pain's not going away with my attention to breathing. Well, so often, our bodies know what's best. So if you have a higher priority, right? If your heart perhaps needs attention, right? Your heart rate and breathing synchronization. We know how important that is for creating vagal toning, which is really just where we get into that sweet zone of healing and restorative nurturing, right, within that parasympathetic nervous system response, right? We know that's what we've got to do. So when we get there, perhaps we begin to notice, right, maybe some chest discomfort, maybe a little bit of arrhythmia, a little hippity skip in our in our heartbeat there. That sometimes might come to your attention, might be something you completely don't notice. It's too easy to ignore, right? When you begin to really develop that body awareness, start to notice these issues, right? Sometimes it creates so much fear that it brings you to a place of inaction where denial feels a lot more comfortable again. So we do this vicious cycle of noticing and forgetting and coming back to a place of denial in an attempt to comfort ourselves because it's stressful to notice symptoms that cause fear, right? So denial is this little protective mechanism that we can sometimes allow ourselves. Right? So if we indulge ourselves in denial too much, then we come to a place where we have some chronic issues that develop. So really light a candle for yourself and really pay attention, plug in. Call yourself on the carpet and really pay attention to the symptoms that you're noticing in an effort to shine a light if there's any denial going on, right? So making self-care your top priority is a really great way to get past denial so that you're at least acknowledging your symptoms, right? At least, even if you're too fearful to take action to do anything about them, let's just allow them. We love and accept ourselves completely, right? Tap this into us, right? Tap on the top of your head with your fingertips. Tap up there. Is it sore up there? If it is, perhaps you need to attend to some emotional freedom technique. Yeah, tapping, that magical therapy that we remind each other is so very important and so very useful in our healing journey. Do you devote time to doing your tapping? Remember that the life dance coach, Chad Kubo, recommended that we do not just one round of tapping. That's something I really admit I really had never before that recommendation from our wonderful advisor, Chad Kubo. I've never done more than one round of tapping in a row at any point in time during my healing journey. And I truly feel that really following through, journaling what I'm doing in self-care, write it down so that I hold myself accountable and I really see where I really fall off the wagon here, and I really am not on the self-care wagon anymore. I mean, I'm really just not attending to my needs. Right? I become sedentary in this it's a denial sort of a place to be, right? Cozy feels comfortable. So are we self-nurturing? No, not if we're not getting up and getting out there and go for a walk. Yeah, even if you're really in health crisis and your walk consists of walking down the hallway and back to bed, that's all you can manage. Well, then that's what we're doing, right? Because we're going to die sooner of everything. We're going to suffer more from everything if we aren't active, if we don't move, right? Sedentary death syndrome looks like that. More suffering, earlier succumbing to any dis-ease, right? From not moving, right? So, really coming back to self-care, making it your top priority, you're tapping on your points at heartfailuresolutions.com/tapping points. Scroll to the bottom of that page. There are some good pictures that Dr. Mercola on his site give us of those. Where are those tapping points? If you notice, Dr. Mercola is using all of his fingertips in the general area of the tapping point. We recommend a lot of EFT teachers on heartfailuresolutions.com blog, but any of them, go to any of them. It's all the same stuff, right? This is a legitimate science that was developed by Gary. This infection in my head has eaten up my memory. Gary, doggone it. Emotional freedom technique was invented by an engineer, and it's a very scientific, hard data proof behind this science, right? And what we're doing is opening up the meridians in your nervous system to free emotional magnetic energies. Now, I often, when I get stuck with an emotion, I'll think to tap. But Chad's recommendation of multiple rounds, 3 to 5 rounds of tapping a day, has really helped me to be more aware of what I'm noticing in my body. And the pain, Chad reminded me, something else I can tap away, right? Not just an emotional reoccurring sort of a circle there, right? Those cycles we get in with our repetitive thought processes. Yeah, recognizing that and tapping it, and really allow us to come to a place of stillness, come to a place of awareness, to develop a new perspective on any problem we're facing, right? But really don't forget that this is, tapping is also a very powerful, yes, it's simple. It's too darn simple, I think. We just don't acknowledge and respect it the way that we should. That you can tap away physical pain. Right? Went to the chiropractor as a Mother's Day present on Saturday and had this little catch in my mid-back, thinking, oh, gee, maybe I need to go back and treat get the rest of the kinks worked out there, and forgot until the next day oh yeah, I should tap on this. Woke up in the middle of the night with really a catch in my neck, and I was up for a while before I realized, you know what, that mid-back kink is gone. It seems to have moved up to my neck. And I said, hey, if tapping helped the mid-back there, let's tap on this. Yeah, and I don't have that catch in my neck anymore. I didn't have to go back to the chiropractor, right? So often the readily available solution, right? My mind knew what the problem was. I needed to get back to the chiropractor. But being still and present and aware and focusing on my breathing reminded me, oh yeah, I forgot about that simple tapping tool. Maybe that might help. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That can help. Listen to yourself. That's when you get still and you get quiet. You can hear yourself. You can tune in. And seek the advice of others, right? Seek that advice from the people that know us and the people that don't know us. Sometimes people who don't know us can see more clearly what it is we should attend to, or we should explore. Perhaps maybe some common sense advice that really brings us to a new perspective to address a problem, right? So chronic infection, what we're going to work through what we really want to address and then take some questions. If you're accumulating questions, please write them down. So chronic infection that has been affecting my health, the Life Breath Coach, yeah, the one who's telling you all how to address your health issues, how to acknowledge and honor your symptoms so that they can be clues to get to the source of the problem, yeah, and really to apply solution to the source of the problem, right? And here I'm ignoring this chronic issue in my right ear because it's not bothering me enough, right? And when I really began to notice some drooping on the right side of my face, yeah, really not bothering me except when I look in a mirror. So thank goodness it bothered me enough to take some action. So yes, hydrogen peroxide flush is something I recommend all the time, right? Why didn't I do that in my ear? I knew it was going to hurt, and indeed it does cause some pain to flush my chronic inflammation in my right ear, right, with this hydrogen peroxide vinegar rinse. Sure, certainly it does. I guess suppose that's why I was in denial, yeah, because it wasn't hurting enough. So I didn't walk my talk. I didn't apply the remedy that I preach. So when I became irritated enough by the look of my sagging face, I began to apply the remedy that I offered myself and rejected, right? So this is denial around chronic infection. So as I began to resolve this chronic issue, we opened up store, got some positive Pseudomonas culture going on. It's causing diarrhea. It's causing flu-like symptoms, sometimes feverish symptoms, but really not measuring a fever at this point. Fever is something we really associate to infection, especially acute infection. I have had some fever over the years, these 9 years, sometimes severe fever. Right? Perhaps I treated it with Tylenol, maybe went around with antibiotics, whatever it might have been to address this fever until the fever was gone and I ignored it again, right? But not having fever this time, and you can't always count on having a fever accompany an infection. So, absence of fever is not a reason to go back to a place of denial, to go back to a place of not recognizing symptoms. So still having this chronic, swollen, sort of tender feeling in my right ear, itching from time to time, shooting pain from time to time, right? What are the chronic symptoms of low oxygen level? Forgetfulness, right? Well, we forget that we're forgetful. But perhaps the people around us tell us that I already told you that, right? Are we hearing that a lot? My daughter said, "Mom, your fatigue doesn't seem normal," right? And because I was too fatigued to give my fatigue my attention, it took her telling me, "Mom, perhaps you need to look for solution. Perhaps you need to address the source of the problem because your fatigue is not normal. You're not that old, Mom." Right? So low oxygen. How about eyesight? Is your eyesight worse? Yeah. Are you really fatigued? Right? Because same with chronic infection, right? That chronic infection are the oxygen supply within our body, and our body is trying to meet our needs, and the oxygen supply in our body is really part of the fuel there, putting out the fire of infection, right? Killing off harmful bacteria, cleaning up the mess that is the debris created by a big bacterial colony. Yeah, we also have waste elimination just with our normal bodily processes, right? Just like when your car drives down the road, exhaust comes out the tailpipe, right? Just a normal process that our body, has to burn fuel to get us through each day, creates waste. And so, that's what our body normally does. It uses our oxygen supply to do its job. It cleans up. It's a powerful detergent. It's a clotter and a declutter. It cleans up our sticky, gummy, dirty blood. That's what oxygen in our red blood cells, that's its job, right? So if we really tax our supplies, our resources with chronic infection, yeah, this is above and beyond the call of duty here. This chronic infection in my right ear, right? So white and fuzzy certainly implies that my ear is wet. That there's a moisture we know gives a medium for bacteria to grow in. Moisture in your ear isn't a normal, natural, good thing, right? Low oxygen levels deplete your heart, your muscle, yeah, all your muscles, but your heart is a muscle. Deplete the strength of that muscle. If your heart muscle is a bit weaker, if you're not getting the perfusion of blood into your kidneys, right? We got some system cooperation that's not going to happen there, right? And your kidneys are going to suffer and your heart is going to suffer. And when you are really dealing with more fluid, you know, where it's not getting where it's needing to go, it's backing up in your system, it's being retained in your interstitial spaces there as opposed to being drawn up into the cells, making the cells supple and round, right? It's squashing the cells. Right? You're not utilizing fluid well because your organ systems aren't working in harmony. Right? And so we create this wet environment where bacteria can set up house, right? So this chronic productive cough of clear mucus, right? So the medical profession's not worried because it's clear. Yeah? Yellow and green is bacterial growth. That's infection, right? But it's clear. So we don't worry about clear mucus. Well, then we're waiting for green and yellow growth because clear mucus is a place for bacteria to move in and set up home and grow a colony, raise a family, right? So clear mucus is a place for bacteria to thrive. Right? So it is a reason for concern. It's the reason why in a hospital setting we want to see whatever you're coughing up. What's it look like? Yeah, we're gross in a hospital setting, and our fascination with the color of your mucus, because that tells us something, right? Tells us if you have an infection going on, right? So sinuses, we think of sinuses being your nose, right? And if you blow your nose and snot comes out and it's green, that's a sign of infection, right? But your sinuses is a big cave inside your head, right? It's really extensive back there, and sometimes you can breathe through your nose and still have a sinus congestion brewing, right? Some of the mucus that drains from your sinuses goes right down your throat, maybe gags you a little bit, or maybe not, right? But you don't cough it up and out into a Kleenex to examine it. Yeah, it's easier to swallow it. Sometimes a good idea to see if you can hack up some of that stuff and see if there's any color to it, right? This is another sign that we're living with chronic infection, right? Our bowel, when our bowel becomes really yeasty, right? And we're maybe pooping in periods and we're not pooping in a big long S, right? Where, you know, our bowel issue is wet maybe. We really don't digest our foods well. You know, we don't think of this as a chronic infection, but really what's happened is our normal, healthy, awesome gut flora, which is bacteria, right, is being crowded by this bad gut flora, this icky, yeasty growth that really challenges this healthy, normal bacteria that's required for digesting our food and processing waste and working the way a bowel is supposed to work, right? So we don't think of that as a chronic infection, but like Dr. Majid Ali likes to remind us, that death begins in the bowel, right? That this process that occurs that reduces our efficiency with processing and digesting our foods, right? Taking the nutrition from our food and allowing it to heal us, because our foods are our medicines when we digest and absorb them. Yeah, but if we just poop them on out the other end, we can't utilize that powerful healing restorative medicine in our foods, right? Chronic infection. Anything else we need to cover? We're already 34 minutes into our hour. How, as we breathe into now and really become aware of what's going on in our bodies, right? Do we sense a relaxation into our belly, or do we sense this tense tightness where we're all up in our chest and we can't relax into the bowl of muscle at the bottom of us and make room for our lungs to expand? Let that belly get out of the way. Yeah, that's a chronic inflammation, right? We don't think of that as chronic infection, but that inflamed muscles and inflamed tissues is very much this chronic issue, right? Infection. What does the word infection mean? Now, you hear me say inflammation all the time. Life Breath Club member Dawn was always asking me, what exactly do you mean by that? Right? That I say the source of all illness is chronic inflammation. Right? This chronic acidic condition that occurs in our bodies, right? When we clean up our blood, we create a more alkaline environment, right? A more clean environment, right? So this chronic inflammation, this chronic stiff and soreness is an issue that's more easily addressed when it's less severe, right? But something we ignore until it gets so bad we just want to do something to stop it. We swallow handfuls of pain meds maybe that cause this constipation, and we accept the constipation because it's a side effect of the drugs that we take to address the chronic inflammation that's really a drug masking the symptom that is the red flag calling our attention. Please, please help. Please pay attention. Please find out what you can do to reverse this chronic, painful state, right? Pain pills, it isn't a cry for pain pills. It's a cry for more activity, a cry for less processed foods and more fruits and vegetables, at the very, very least, right? So are our relationships toxic, right? Stressing us out. There's no place to heal and nurture in a toxic home, right? What is it in your life that's fueling this chronic inflammatory state, right? Your mouth, your dental health, right? When you breathe into now and get still and present, what do you have to say, right? Are you noticing, is it painful when you chew food? Yeah. Is it painful when you brush? Do you use a hydrogen peroxide rinse in your mouth, and is there any pain with it? Do you need to dilute the 3% peroxide in order to prevent, uncomfortable pain with a mouth rinse? And perhaps, do you have root canals? Right? A root canal has no nerve, so if there's a problem there, you may not feel it. But every time you chew, you may send poison into your bloodstream. This is chronic infection that you may not be aware of. Right? But worry, stress, and fear only add to the chronic inflammatory stress, right? So we want to breathe into this awareness of our symptoms and allow for solution to present itself, right? Fear contracts us. We can't open up and receive our solution. So there's a secret to getting out of denial in that, when you acknowledge symptoms and allow the fear that may bubble up, right? If it is, it is. Right? Okay, let fear be your friend. Let fear call you back to this awareness, right? It's a good thing. Yeah, fear makes you aware again so that you can relax into this aware and present beginner's mind, this new perspective, to explore solution in a way that may bring about more creative thinking, right? What else can offer solution? Chris is offering forth that nutritional supplementation has been, and you can, I think the line's unmuted if you're on the phone. I believe you can speak up and feel free to, Chris. He is taking a nutritional supplement these days, and I had meant to make a redirection link. I'll send one out in an email, and nag me if this doesn't take place. My disease process sidetracks me and distracts me and pulls me off of fulfilling my promises, and that's not something I want to be doing with my beloved Life Breath Club members. So Chris, please remind me if you don't see a link come through. We want to offer folks this nutritional supplementation. It's 90 essential nutrients. It's critical. Resting, exercising, recharging by breathing properly, all of that good stuff that Chris recommends. These are the solutions that came to Chris when he listened to himself. Right? You came back to this. But these 90 essential nutrients, yeah, please do join the conversation. They really support your rest, your exercise, and your breathing, don't they, Chris?
Absolutely. I mean, I have more energy now than I have had in a long time. That's all those things that come together that make a difference, right?
Oh, you bet.
You know, like I shared a couple of weeks ago, the doctor doesn't even want me, won't even give me oxygen anymore because my O2 level when I go to the doctor has always been 95, 96%
right.
higher.
Right.
And it's because of coming to the Life Breath Club, taking care of myself by eating properly, taking the nutrient supplements I need, and of course, breathing, doing the Chihuahua head pump.
Right. And Chris, I love that you pointed out, you've pointed out several times here for us recently. I'm so glad you come back to this place. You're just such a testimony of success and continuing the work and really, holding yourself accountable. You mentioned that when you notice shallow, rapid breathing, or you just notice that you're breathing through your mouth, you just simply close your mouth. That breathing into now sometimes is as simple as put your lips together and really address what's happening in this moment. I've been seeking the advice of my breathing coaches simply because I've been noticing this strange jerking in my breathing, this strange urge to shallow breathe, rapid breathe. And really what I was noticing was my body's reaction to this chronic infection going on. The other symptoms I was ignoring completely. But this breathing issue, I was noticing that it was reoccurring. It was coming back. It was getting my attention. And, perhaps that's what, EVOX is another wonderful therapy that I've told you all a lot about. And I really need to put you in touch with the wonderful ladies, Gigi and Jana, who offer that awesome energy therapy to really help to tune your vibration back to that place of stillness and peace and receptivity, where we know ourselves better than everybody else, our doctors, our healthcare team, our chiropractors even. They can point us in the right direction. They can tell us what supplements to really boost up. Magnesium was one of the powerful supplements that was recommended to Anita. And I love to point out that magnesium is the relaxation nutrient, right? I love how it can support your spiritual life. I loved that when I shared an article, so many people, I never thought of it that way. But when you really nutritionally nurture yourself in a way that your body relaxes, your muscles relax, your nervous system swings back towards that parasympathetic response, that relaxation, that healing response, right? Then your nutritional supplementation really brings you to this more still, present, surrendered place. Sound like a spiritual journey, right? And we can really begin to be more aware, acknowledge our progress, acknowledge what is working, acknowledge what isn't working. Right? When you really notice what isn't working, you can change direction. And changing direction requires getting still where you are, right? Because you're going to keep moving in the direction you're moving in, right? Until you stop in order to change direction. So coming back to that place of stillness in order to switch things up. Yeah. What is working? What isn't working? Listen to yourself. Right? Call yourself on the carpet. Ring yourself up on the phone. Right? Get a line to you, one that you'll listen to. Right? And then do whatever healing, nurturing, restorative, self-care comes up for you. Right? Like Chris said, get out there and go for a walk. Make sure that you are journaling your self-care so that, or perhaps even, sometimes with a pill, we put pills in a box Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? For every day of the week, we put our pills in that little section so that we don't forget. Sometimes folks need to do that with nutritional supplementation as well. So often you'll so many of my clients, I encourage them to, we've explored many nutritional supplements in the past, and many of my clients, I just work with them with the nutritional supplementation they have found they want to explore. We're really wanting us all to use the same supplements so that we really understand, there's no factoring in other supplementation, because be careful, you can drive up your blood pressure. And even with the 90 essential nutrients that Chris and I are embracing and throwing ourselves into in this company with heart, one that challenges the FDA. Because the Food and Drug Administration, we're often acknowledging, is not always representing the best interests of the population, right? Too much influence by those who profit from the information that the Food and Drug Administration analyzes, right? So we want to be our own best advocate, right, and really explore what's best for us. It's only legal to say that omegas are good for your heart because the Food and Drug Administration has been challenged. So now we can say this without fear of retribution. They won't come after us for saying that omegas are good for your heart, because it's been challenged, and we won. We, the people, won the right to share the information that omegas are good medicine, right? So, as we really begin to give our attention to nurturing ourselves, we watch our blood pressure, measure it several times, morning and night, maybe 3 times a day, and midday, and as well as beginning and end. Right? And really see if there's any spiking, right? Because we know that drugging blood pressure to keep it low isn't a good thing if you're having your blood pressure spike at times. So the rule of thumb, the science behind that, right? The new science that's come out really is not being applied within Western medicine, right? It's very slow for science to make it to your doctor and really penetrate your doctor's practice. Right? Because your doctor's worried about doing what everybody else does. So long as your doctor does what everybody else does, they prevent liability. Yeah? Even though the new science perhaps tells him that something else could be a whole lot better thing to be doing, your doctor's slow to embrace that because it's not what everybody else is doing. Right? The Western medical world is just slow to embrace science. Right? So we need to really keep that in mind as we use our doctor's advice as part of the big picture, part of the puzzle, in which we are our primary care physicians. We are deciding what's best for us. So we don't want, the rule of thumb is greater than a 50 in your systolic, in your blood pressure. That's the top number. You don't want that number to vary by more than 50 from the low to the high, from the time you wake up in the morning before you put your feet hit the floor, right? So if you put it at your bedside and measure it, and maybe after lunch you head on into your blood pressure cuff and you take another blood pressure reading. Maybe you want to do it before lunch, maybe you want to do it after lunch, but do it at the same time every day. Yeah, before you retire, or maybe at the end of the day when you feel stressed and tense and tired, maybe that's a good time to take it. But be consistent, keep a record, and watch for any variation, right? Because it's this forcing your vessels to be so flexible. Yeah, to deal with such a low pressure alternating with such a high pressure, right? If we have this very, very much smaller fluctuation, even if that number is higher, then science is telling us that's better, right? We just don't want that big swing in our blood pressure. So it's up to you, right? Your doctor can't monitor you that closely anyway, right? Even if your doctor is utilizing this newer science and not falling back on old science, that's really not protecting you from anything, right? And that's how Anita ended up in trouble, right? Your doctor doesn't want to adjust your medications because your doctor would have to pay more close attention, perhaps schedule an appointment that's not going to be easily reimbursed with insurance, right? To see if the new blood pressure medication is going to do the trick, right? So they want to just leave it alone. Oh well, it's low, no worries. Whereas new science is saying, yeah, maybe that is a worry, especially if when you are active during the day, your blood pressure is much higher than that. Then we are causing this huge swing. Uh-oh. Let's see if I really am muted. I know the Hangout won't be.
Conference recording started.
Oh, wow, we're not even recording on the phone. Well, no problem then. Oops.
Yep, I think so.
Conference muted. Line unmuted.
Aha, now can you hear me?
Yep, now we can hear you.
All righty. That is great. I don't know why I did that, and I did not start the recording on the phone, but that's all right. We've got the recording in the Hangout. So you're on speakerphone, and I can hear you all. So do we have any questions with the content that we discussed today? Or celebration with what's working for you?
Well, I'll give you a celebration.
Awesome.
And in my own words, is I was told 3 years ago I would need to move to sea level. And you've probably heard that I was told get my affairs in order or I was going to die. And now I'm living at 8,800 feet. I'm able to work outside even though we're in the middle of a snowstorm and it's about 28 degrees outside. Hold up. And I'm not short of breath. I no longer need any heart medication because of my change in diet and nutritional supplements and breathing, as well as exercise and everything. It's never just one thing. It's mindset, getting a mentor, like coming here with Carrie, taking responsibility and choosing the thoughts I think, and keeping my mental attitude good, and being grateful that I get to wake up in the morning and see some great sunrises.
You bet.
I'm very grateful for that. So for me, that's a big win.
Oh, that's
alive.
Heck of a celebration, boy. Most of our folks who have never faced the necessity of a heart transplant really can't handle cultivating a garden at sea level, let alone at the altitude that you're able to grow food. You know, it's wow, what a testimony. And we're not talking. Has it been? Is it 3 years now? 2 years?
Yeah.
3?
Well, 2 years since I've been on Life Breath Coach. Since I've been with you. 3 years since I was diagnosed and told to
plan your funeral.
My affairs in order. My wife and I had found the best deal for a cremation because we didn't want a big fancy funeral.
Wow.
And here I am.
Wow. You know, and you know, really that just shows you, I mean, it's not that Chris is just still alive. Chris is working harder than most of us who've never faced a health crisis just 3 years out. And you were working, and Chris was working hard. How long did it take you to really find your feet again, Chris? About a year?
About a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And really it was quick once you found the tools that really made the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then for me, it was life or death. So I chose to take everything seriously, and I chose to live.
Yes. Amen.
In every choice. That's awesome, Chris.
That was Chad. He's saying that's awesome, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, kid. Awesome. Sure.
It's inspiring to hear it. You know, and really, as I think about it, I mean, this ear of mine is, it really, at this point, I could go back to ignoring it. You know, nobody would be too very upset if I did. You know, but what's really occurred to me is it's really reminded me of this feeling, this sensation on the left side of my head and my neck here of that incident 9 years ago where I had an abscess blow up. It was like 3 golf balls side by side under the skin in my neck. And it was uncomfortable. I was really burning up with fever. It was painful, but I had a newborn baby. I had two young girls that I really didn't have the support to leave them with someone in order to be hospitalized, and I was just very resistant. I just wanted to keep on nurturing my kids, but the people around me were freaking out. You know, like, you have to go to the hospital right now. They were freaking out. And, you know, when I really stop and think about that, you know, right now what's going on is, you know, when I'm flushing my ear and I can really feel all this gross drainage coming out. And I think about it, you know, if I were to have a large abscess blow up on me in the area that I am now resolving this chronic yuck, that's in the center of my head. I would likely not be insisting upon continuing with my chores and my parental responsibility. I would likely be fighting for my life if I had an abscess blow up that size in the center of my head. So health crisis can be so severe and so immediate that we think we'll deal with that when the time comes. Well, if I do that, I'm nuts, right? And really holding myself accountable with my journal. Are you really opening up your journal every day and writing down what you're grateful for? I love Chris is just this awesome example of that. Every opportunity that presents itself for Chris. In fact, if you tell Chris your problem, he'll look for an opportunity to be grateful for its solution. To every problem a solution. And being grateful for it right now. Knowing faithfully that it is available and that we are inches from it if we feel that is out of our reach, right? That really expecting solution to present itself, right? So a couple of things I wanted to send you off into your week with. If anybody else wants to ask a question or share a celebration or contribute to this conversation, we've got advisors joining us every week, and we've got Life Breath Club members who are applying what they're learning and learning from what they get with their results. And please do feel comfortable to speak up. I have a couple of notes I wanted to make sure to mention to you all as you head into your week. And I'm so glad to hear you're here, Chad, listening to me talk about you. Thanks so much for your recommendation for the multiple rounds of tapping, of emotional freedom technique tapping. I really find that one is a tease. That second and third time, you really start to feel the pull of gravity under your feet. You really begin to tune in. The static clears up, and everything gets just so much more clear. I'm so much less likely to allow self-care to drop off my agenda for the day when I've grounded myself with 3 to 5 rounds of tapping, right? It's just amazing. My psychologist has told me she's familiar with it. She recommends it to people, and people are always telling her that it doesn't help them. And I think you would agree, Chad, that that's probably impossible.
Yeah, it helps to do it several times.
When you've really been hanging on to stuff for so long, it's really sticky. And if you can just really loosen, that grip, and really just allow for this process. And remember that the whole point of tapping is to cause this release, right? I love that with my, with my whole ear issue, as I opened up this sore in my ear, it caused this drainage of stuff that was obviously very, very old, very foul tasting, smelling, gagged me, right? And my doctor was very concerned. It caused some real severe diarrhea. Now, luckily, that's cleared itself up. I'm good to go. But my doctor was very concerned, and she was, wanting to keep an eye on that. My chiropractor, his reaction was, "Oh, great, you had an awesome purge." He was like, "Your health has improved. I'm glad to hear it." And I'll tell you, it was a paradigm shift. It was an awesome sort of a perspective to embrace. And it really brought me to a different place. When I laid down on my chiropractor's table, I felt fearful and weak. Yeah, and maybe I wasn't even aware of it, but as he plugged me in and, worked out some of my kinks, I began to feel my true strength. I remember thinking to myself, I am more powerful than I think. And this little issue in my ear is nothing but a thing here, and I can do this. I'm that strong. I'm that powerful. I can navigate this journey. And if that's what you need is a paradigm shift, seek out, a chiropractor in your area, an acupuncturist, Yeah. Are you journaling? Are you writing down what you're grateful for? Yeah. Are you sipping water all day, every day? Yeah. Are you writing down what's working? Yeah. Are you maybe writing down things that you're doing that you know are hurting you? Yeah. You probably acknowledge it when you do it, but are you writing that in your journal? Yeah, so that you don't conveniently forget that you are sabotaging yourself, right? Don't be hard on yourself. Just allow what is. You have to allow the discomfort of becoming aware of your sabotage, yeah, because you can't change what you won't acknowledge, right? So it's okay. It's cool. Write it down in your journal. Tell on yourself. Yeah, no big deal, right? No punishment required, right? The sabotage itself is the punishment. And when we acknowledge it, we can choose nurturing instead. So that's what I wanted to encourage you as you head out into your week. You know, what are you ignoring? What can you give focus to, even if it's an uncomfortable symptom that causes fear, right? This is positive progress on your healing journey. It just doesn't feel like it in the moment, right? And once we acknowledge the symptom that makes us feel fearful, now we can choose action that will be beneficial, that will be a remedy to suffering. Right? And look in your inboxes for that link coming, that this 90 essential nutrients, taking them each and every day is a really simple thing, as simple as drinking your orange juice in the morning. But it can be the medicine that really allows for the resolving of these inflammatory processes, these issues that start out little and grow into a chronic, festering health crisis, right? Really, you know, denial sneaks up and bites you in the butt, but it doesn't have to, right? This simple process of getting still, breathing into now, into this present moment, so that you can become aware of a new perspective, a beginner's mind, yeah, that receives solution that can be put into daily practice until it's integrated, until you don't even think about it anymore, right? Just like Chris doesn't think about it anymore. He notices his mouth is open and he shuts it. He nods his chihuahua bob head and he increases the circulation to his central nervous system so that he can relax into his breathing and slow it down, right? He takes his supplements every morning just like he brushes his teeth every morning. It's become integrated, right? And when he experiences the healing that changes his life, transforms his world, he shares it, right? Because why wouldn't you want to tell everybody you know about the good news in your life? And that final step of sharing is really the 7th step that really solidifies this change in your life, right? The more you tell your story, the more you integrate and solidify and embrace this change. It becomes a part of you when you share it, when you keep telling your story, sharing your story. So please let your friends and family know that heartfailuresolutions.com/sacred breath is the place to get those 2 little magical ebooks that will open your mind to the possibility, yeah, to the healing possibility that presents itself within each moment in the form of your breath. So until we meet again next week, be good to yourselves and be good to everyone you meet. Aloha Nui, Life Breath Club. See you next week.